either side of SC have provisional qualifying times. Leadoff leg for UCLA, Sandy Roseby. Angela Williams for USC. And movement early. Right, you've been in these Pac-10 championships. Everybody talks about the NCAAs, but there's a lot of pressure here. These athletes, they know each other, they see each other, they train together, some of them.
Starting with the beginning of May when the SC-UCLA dual meet happens, and then the conference meet, then the NCAAs, they get a chance to see each other 3 times in 5 weeks, and the pressure just builds throughout that month.
It's like opening a can of soda pop right now. You just want to get it open, let all that pressure out. Angela Williams, the leadoff leg for USC, exactly where you want her. Perhaps the best starter in the country, maybe of all time.
And just getting better and better as an open 100-meter specialist, the second fastest time in the world this year. Expect to see her under 11 seconds this year and on many world championship and Olympic teams in the future.
USC as a quartet has gone 43.71, the only automatic NCAA qualifying time in the field. You have to go sub 44. UCLA and Arizona State have run provisional qualifying times. And UCLA does not have their A team, as Jeanette Bolden, the UCLA head coach, calls it, going with Sandy Roseby as the leadoff for the Bruins.
And read whatever you would like into that fact. Early in the meet, not going with the A team in the relay. There's got to be some strategy involved there.
For Arizona, keep an eye on the second leg. Will be run by Brianna Glenn, last year's NCAA champion in the 200. And here we go, and Angela Williams, I think, got another good start. Williams already making up the stagger as they go to the first pass. For USC, Angela Williams hands to Deisha Page.
Excellent pass by the Lady Trojans. Now let's see if Brianna Glenn can make up any room whatsoever for U of A down in lane 2. She's running well, but she can't catch the Trojans.
USC, the handoff, Natasha Neal. And Kansasha Davis will run the anchor leg for USC. For UCLA, Dana Bethel will hand Ogunlei for UCLA. Kansasha Davis, an unorthodox style, but you can see it from anywhere. And USC pulling away. And the women's 4x1. Women of Troy win the opening event, the Pac-10 championships.
And went just about according to plan. USC winning easily, ASU second. And then Washington State coming up third. UCLA back in about 5th place. And with the quartet that they ran, that's about where you expect them to be.
ASU with Portia Carroll, Tiffany Greer, Joni Smith, and Cassandra Reed finishing second in that race, but no one was going to catch USC. And for USC coming in, they were, well, without question, the favorite in this race, and they just had to avoid what happened to them last year at Cal, holding onto the baton, getting it all the way around the track.
And they have enough talent, and they know they have enough of a cushion against everyone else that they can go with safe passes, which is what they did.
Here's your start again, Angela Williams. Look at her make up the stagger on Arizona State on the outside quickly. That is exactly how she earns her scholarship. When she hands off, USC is already in 3rd place.
And what we can't see is on the inside, Brianna Glenn is running a great leg for the University of Arizona, but she just doesn't have the horses with the rest of her team to make a difference. Then for USC, on the 3rd leg, Natasha Neal really runs the turn well and makes up the stuff over Arizona State. Then Kinshasa Davis, of course, finishing.
Sasha Davis got the baton in front and actually extended that lead, running easy down the stretch. And Sasha Davis, that is the way she runs, the hands back and forth. That is her signature. USC wins easily. Remember that USC already had an automatic NCAA.
This first leg will be critical, Rideau versus Henry, because Henry is by far the weakest leg, and if USC doesn't have a substantial lead from Rideau to Sultan McCullough, you might as well write this one off for the home team here.
Daryl Rideau, opening leg for USC in lane 4. Rideau is a football player having a great spring. Short and compact from that great Long Beach Poly program down in Southern California. SC at 4, Washington State at 5. Rideau trying to reel in Steve Dwyer right away and keep SC in this one because Washington State gets better as they hand the baton along. A great opening leg by Daryl Rideau.
Decent pass from Rideau to McCullough, but I'm waiting for McCullough to shift gears, and he is being eaten alive by Anson Henry. Trojans will still have a bit of a lead, but Washington State is totally in it.
Benny Chapman running the 3rd leg for Washington State. Devin Ward for USC. Anchor legs now, Wes Felix for USC. He's just a freshman. And Anthony Buchanan for Washington State. The crowd comes to their feet. Felix is trying to hold off Buchanan. Felix has a 5-meter lead, and USC beats Washington State.
Stunning upset, I would say, and Wes Felix, the freshman, showed a lot of poise down the stretch, Dwight.
Really expected him to tighten up more than that, but you could see about 30 meters from the finish, he realized there was no way he was going to reel him in, and that was really about very, very good passes for the Washington State Cougars. Of course, we're lucky that they were in lanes right next to each other. USC in 4, excuse me, 2 apart from each other. USC in 4, Washington State in 6. And you can see Darrell Rideau just eating Steve Dwyer's lunch. Look at the pass from Rideau on the left to Sultan McCullough.
And as we set it up, it was so key, that whole first, even though Anson Henry made up a lot of the stagger down the stretch, I think, Dwight, that whole key was the Rideau on the first leg, giving USC enough of a cushion.
I had a chance to talk with Darrell Rideau before. He told me he's in the best shape of his 4-year track career, and then the handoff from McCullough to Devin Ward, who ran a pretty good corner and handed it to Wes Felix. And interesting, they put a freshman on the anchor leg in a huge meet, the Pac-10 championships.
I think they expected Devin Ward to really get it done. You could see it stumbling a little bit there, having trouble staying in the lane, and that was just enough. Wes Felix got a nice lead, and he stayed nice and relaxed. Anthony Buchanan was really working hard to catch him, realized 30 meters from the finish line, it's not going to happen. And it went the way it looked on paper, but we really expected that Washington State would step up to win this thing.
Buchanan was so frustrated with Washington State's second-place finish, and he threw the baton about 10 meters past the finish line. USC with bookend great efforts. Darrell Rideau, the senior, on the opening leg, and the freshman, Wes Felix, bringing home the 4x1. 15 is next.
His points and the points of the rest of the Stanford runners in this event are going to be absolutely critical for the team title. No messing around. This is it, and this field is loaded. You got Strong, you got Gardner, you got all the Stanford kids. This is a tremendous field.
Grant Robeson leads the way. He also a Stanford runner, along with Washington State's Ian Johnson. Gabe Jennings towards the back of the field, of course, and he's third from the back right now, and you'll see the ponytail as he goes by.
And you know what? They're making an honest pace here, Jimmy and Dwight. They went out in 60.7.
And smart for Jennings to hang back since he is not race fit for Stanford Cardinal in this final. And as you mentioned, Tom, how they finish in this, how many points they can grab out of this 1,500 will have a lot to do with how much pressure they feel that they must get lots of points in the 5,000, where they could possibly go 1 through 6 inclusive. But Gabe Jennings, he has to show us something now. It's time for him to get serious about what he's going to be doing the rest of the season. You get a good shot at his haircut, and we've seen these things over the years. Guys clipping their locks before big meets, do well in the semifinal, maybe not do so well in the final. But this guy is an Olympian. He ran in Sydney, has a lot of experience, feels very confident at this level, and is really the leader of this incredible middle distance core at Stanford.
Well, it's Eric Garner, Washington, Tom, moving up into second place now.
Yeah, and Jim, Eric Garner had the fastest time in the country indoors at 1,500 meters, and then he got smoked at the NCAA meet. And I think at this point now, he's really looking to perform well in a big meet, and this is a big meet. I also do not want to forget to mention Brandon Strong of Arizona State, who's tucked in there in the top 4, and Gabe Jennings is now starting to move up. He's currently in third.
Jennings ran this race so far very smart. He stayed back. He went through probably in around high 61s, low 62s for that first lap. He didn't get sucked along in that fast pace. He's within himself. He knows that he's lacking racing, but he knows he also has the minds of most of the guys in this race just because of his reputation.
Grant Robeson, Stanford continues to leave. Eric Gardner was closing and now looks to be tiring just a little bit. Here comes Jennings moving out into lane 2 to go on by.
And Grant Robeson is more of a 5,000 meter runner, but he's had his best season thus far. But he's really making this pace honest for Gabe, so he's not susceptible to the kicks. And Don Sage of Stanford now moving into third. Stanford top 3, and Strong and Garner are now 4th and 5th. If they can hold on to this top 3, their Pac-10 chances look real good today, guys.
It is so much fun to watch the Stanford middle distance guys run as a team. They always try to help each other, form a bit of a peloton. Jennings sneaking a look back just to see how far the gap is.
And 2:59.8 at 1,200 as Sage moves into the lead. And Robeson, who's the strong runner, not the speed runner. And actually, Gabe Jennings is covering quite well with Strong trying to move into that group. And Sage looks terrific. 2:59 at 1,200. They may run close to 3:40 at 3:41 here.
Strong looked very good in that backstretch, but it looks like he spent it all. It looks like it's 1, 2, 3 Stanford. I'm not worried about Gabe Jennings being passed by Strong. I'm certainly not worried about Sage. They just need to get Robeson to the finish line before they're passed.
Strong is trying to make a kick. Strong for Arizona State trying to break up the Stanford trifecta as they come home. It's Robeson, Sage, and Jennings. And look at Jennings kicking, and here comes Strong. Strong coming on late. Jennings is going to win it. Strong is second.
Wow, what
Sage
a great
is third, and Robeson 4th.
That was a fantastic performance by Strong, Donald Strong of, Strong of Arizona State. Did you see the way Stanford basically covered the first 3 lanes? There's no way they could have gotten in between, and he went ahead and picked his spot and really surged the last 50 meters in order to get that second place and break up that 1-2-3 sweep by Stanford. Brandon Strong, very smart, very savvy running off a very honest pace.
Like the race to the very much, Gabe Jennings, always a colorful character, and gave us a great performance to win the 1500, a back-to-back Pac-10 champion in that event now. Moving on now to the women's 100-meter hurdles, and we'll set this event for you as well. In lane 1 from Oregon is Jenny Kenyon. Tamara Gully, Washington State, is in lane 2. Seneca Holmes, Arizona State in 3. Natasha Neal, who has run 13:21 wind aided in this event, is in lane 4 for USC. Sheena Johnson from UCLA has run 13:53. You have to wonder, is that good enough to win today? Lainey Richardson, the Pac-10 heptathlon champion, set a school record in that event with over 5,800 points from Washington State in lane 6. Randy Smith, also from Wazoo, in 7. And Robin Woolfolk, Stanford, is on the outside in lane 8.
I just need to know what's happening with Gabe Jennings. Is that a fez he has on his head or what? This guy never fails to surprise us. We look at the Pac-10 meet record. Gail Devers, a pretty good name for that. NCAA record is the same. Automatic qualifying 13:10. That event just keeps getting stronger and more solid for the U.S. women, who won the World Indoor and Outdoor Championships in this event and dominated the world rankings.
And Dwight, the postscript, of course, on Gabe Jennings is always expect the unexpected.
Isn't it the truth?
I think there's always room for a little color on the Pac-10 landscape. I like Gabe Jennings. He's fun to watch. All right, let's talk about this race a little bit, the women's 100-meter hurdles. Obviously, Neal and Johnson, SC and UCLA, right in the middle of the pack. Along with Richardson, do you give the Washington State woman a chance in this race?
I think she has a chance, but we need to take a look back at an event that we had yesterday, the men's shot put, a very key event for the men's side of the score. And this is David Wood, the defending Pac-10 champion from ASU, the senior. He got up to 61 feet 3/4 of an inch. Nobody thought that would hold up, and the reason why, this freshman, Sean Shields from the University of Arizona, 6'5", 225. This kid has a huge future. He just barely outdistances Wood for second place at 61 feet 2 inches. But from UCLA, as expected, Scott Wigan, 6'8", 323-pound junior, 6th in this event last year, 4th in the discus last year. And watch this guy around the ring. They can barely contain him. He's so far up there that all he has to do is just flick it off of his finger. And Wigan, yeah, you can see his teammates. It's about time they had some good news. And Wigan gets it out there a good distance, wins the event for the Bruins. And you can't miss this guy when he's walking across the track. He is huge. Wigan wins it easily at 64, 1 3/4. Shields and Wood. UCLA also gets 5th, and a somewhat disappointing 6th for Scott Moser. Should have moved up a little bit further than that, but the Bruins go 1-5-6. Would have appreciated doing better than that, but at least they win it.
Wigan and Shields are two guys both from Southern California. Saw each other and grew up together on the prep level. Back to the women's 100-meter hurdles as they wait patiently behind their blocks. Natasha Neal, USC, in lane 4. Fastest time this year, 13:21, and there, Washington State. Lainey Richardson, 2-time All-American.
One thing about Eleni Richardson, she won the Pac-10 heptathlon with 5,800 points. Dan O'Brien, of course, trains here at Washington State, and Dan really thinks she is going to be the future in U.S. heptathlon in this country. And she's got a lot of speed. Not only is she a good 100-meter hurdler, but she's an excellent 200-meter runner.
Her qualifying time, 13:86. Run yesterday was her best in this event this year, so maybe peaking at the right time. Neal in 4, USC Johnson, UCLA in 5, Richardson, Washington State 6. Natasha Neal and Sheena Johnson hit the first hurdle together, and they continue that way. Just opposites of one another, a mirror reflection. It's Neal and Johnson. Neal from USC slightly in front at the tape, and Neal leans. Natasha Neal, USC, Sheena Johnson, UCLA seconds.
And that's the way you would have expected it to go on paper. Natasha Neal with the best time coming in, 13.57. Sheena Johnson just hasn't quite run into the shorter distance hurdle. She is the Pac-10 or defending Pac-10 champion at the 400-meter hurdles distance. And the UCLA Bruins need to start getting some, maybe not only expected, maybe some unexpected points from some places in order to get back in this battle. You can see that is Natasha Neal, 3rd from your right. Sheena Johnson in the blue from UCLA. Pretty much the first 5 stride for stride, and Neal starts to make a move. Very difficult to get out of the other athlete's rhythm, and Neal just runs better off the last hurdle. A very close finish, but Neal takes the measure of Johnson as they come at us. Again, Neal 3rd from the right. Johnson really looking like she has better technique, but she's spending more time in the air. She gets the third hurdle a pretty good wrap, but she's just spending too much time in the air, and that's what this event is about, getting those feet back down and sprinting. It's just sprinting with 10 little obstacles in your way. Natasha Neal negotiated them better than Sheena Johnson.
That's exactly what Neal did. They're snapping that lead leg down right back onto the track, and you could see it. It was illustrated beautifully because they were side by side. Turned out to be the difference at the end. Natasha Neal, USC, the winner in the women's 100-meter hurdles, and the women of Troy are off to a great start here. Already won the women's 4x1, and now Neal gives them another victory in the women's 100-meter hurdles. Here's your final results. Neal runs 13:37. Sheena Johnson, UCLA, 13:39. And Tamara Gully from Washington State goes 13:77. So the other Coug getting third in that race.
Still not expecting any of those hurdlers in the NCAA. Let's go to the women's high jump contested yesterday. Heavy favorite. Darnisha Griffith was the NCAA indoor champion. Niece of the late Florence Griffith Joyner, and she had a heck of a time. Third attempt at 5:11 1/4. She had passed the previous height, so she ends up tied for third. And from Washington State, this is Whitney Evans, the defending Pac-10 champion, was third at the NCAAs last year from Canada. She wins it on her third and final attempt at 5:11 1/4. Probably helped that she was jumping at home, knows this facility well, and she, for the second time in a row, wins the title. Brogdon,
53:31. Joni Smith, ASU. Jeanette Davis, Oregon. And Cassandra Reed from Arizona State.
Pac-10 record, Camara Jones of Oregon. And you can see the NCAA qualifying pretty stiff this year, 52.40, and very large in her absence in this race. Freshman from UCLA, Monique Henderson, who was in the Olympic trials final in 2000 at the end of her junior year after setting the high school record. She from San Diego down in California, and the Bruins probably could use her points, but she's got a lot of other things that she'll be doing. As we look at the transfer from Texas, Nakia Johnson, season best 52.30. She is automatically qualified to the NCAAs in a couple of weeks.
And Dwight, one other point to make is that Nakia Johnson, transferring from Texas, allowed Kinshasa Davis to skip this event. When Ron Alice was going out and kind of doping this meet out, he said, look, I'm going to run Kinshasa Davis in the 100, 200 in both relays because I got myself covered with Nakia Johnson here in this 400. And Bumi Agunlie, of course, we saw her compete in high school in Southern California in a variety of events, and she still does it. She is going to be a real wild card for UCLA in the team points here. Very critical. Without Monique Henderson, they put their faith and trust in Agunlie to get the points that they need in this event. You know, they doubled Lena Nilsson Dwight in the 8 and 1500, decided to pull Monique Henderson back to just the 200 and the 4x4. So they're going to need Bumi to do well here.
I don't usually question Jeanette Bolden. She's got 68 straight dual meet titles, has never lost one, and she's won 5 straight conference titles, so I have to think there's some strategy involved with this, but pretty soon you start running out of events, and they need some points.
And Tiffany Giles in lane 3 for the home track Washington State team looked very, very good in the heats yesterday. She could be the wild card here.
Giles running 53:43 to qualify. Nakia Johnson, USC in 4. Agunlie, UCLA in 5.
And the wind has picked up a little bit over what we were looking at earlier, and the strength athletes will fight this wind down that back stretch. And out there in lane 6, Joni Smith is running a great race.
Joni Smith from Arizona State.
Joni Smith went to high school with Kinshasa Davis at Long Beach Wilson and was part of that national record-setting 4x400 meter relay team. But the question is, did she go out too fast? Nakia Johnson really starting to come on now.
Here comes Nakia Johnson. Joni Smith to the outside and now pulls even and then goes right on by. Nakia Johnson, USC, fastest time anyone in the field has gone 52:30.
Here comes
Johnson pulling away, and here comes Agunlie for UCLA trying to get up for second. Adia McKinnon for UCLA on the inside holding on for third, so the Bruins go second and third. Johnson wins the race.
Big performance by Adia McKinnon. I cannot underscore that enough for UCLA's team chances. She had been hurt all year, and for her to come out of lane 2 and help Agunlie, this might have been a really critical event for UCLA on the team side.
We saw it in the 800 at the dual meet. That was certainly critical with Nilsson and Burgess. Here, McKinnon, the defending champion from her freshman year, clear in a couple of weeks in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Anthony Buchanan, just a sophomore, has run a 10:16. That's the fastest in the Pac-10. Anson Henry has run 10:17.
And Buchanan's 10:16 was wind aided, but the mere fact that they're running times like this in the Pacific Northwest, where the weather doesn't get good till about July 4th, supplements what Dwight says, that these guys really could be NCAA contenders behind, of course, Justin Gatlin, who is the all-world sprinter these days.
You can see the qualifying there. Pac-10 meet record by Otto Bolden, an Olympic medalist on a couple of occasions. He also has the NCAA record at 9.90, truly a world-class, international class athlete while he was at school at UCLA. But this really should be all about the three Cougars in the middle of the track. And boy, what a huge difference it would be when you got three guys from way up here potentially sweep the 100 meters.
For a school that was known for a bunch of Kenyan distance runners, this is really remarkable, Dwight.
And you've got a guy in Rick Sloan, the head coach, who really is a jumps guy and a multi-event guy to get these sprinters who really did nothing last year and really dominating this year. It's quite a feat.
Henry in 4, Buchanan in 5, and Chapman in 6.
Henry got out very well, Jim.
Yep. Henry and Rideau for USC. It's Henry. Rideau's trying to hang on, and here comes Buchanan.
And McCullough may have snuck in there for second on out in lane 7, and it looks like it may have been Benny Chapman, it looks like, with his leg already wrapped, who might have caught a cramp. Hopefully that's all it is in that hamstring, but he jumped up a little bit after that finish line. You hate to see that. From right to left, you can see him, Henry, Buchanan, and Chapman for Wazoo. Rideau doing a nice job early in this race trying to hang in there. It's Henry pulling away nicely, and then it's Buchanan. It's Buchanan that jumps up a little bit with that wrapped right leg. You can see right there. Oh, that's never a good sign. And they're 10-2 on the track. Sophomore.
Sportsnet, Jim Watson, Dwight Stones, and Tom Fewers, who we move now to the women's 400 hurdles. Lane 1, Seneca Holmes from ASU. Her teammate, Candida Colson, also a Sun Devil in lane 2. Kelsey Shepard, UW, in lane 3. Alexandra Pilusic from USC, second fastest time in the Pac-10. Lane 4, Randy Smith, Washington State 5. Natasha Neal is in lane 6. She won the 100 hurdles earlier. Sheena Johnson, who was second in the hurdles, is in lane 7.
Johnson is the defending champion, but she had a lousy qualifying time. Will basically be running all by herself out there in lane 7. A great spot for Natasha Neal to watch Johnson. They were 1-2 in the short hurdles, and Johnson, the defending champion. Very important for both the Bruins and the Trojans to score well here.
And a contrast in styles, Dwight. Pilusic of Poland and USC in lane 4, really running very, very well technically. And right now, it looks to be between her, Neal, the two Trojans, and Sheena Johnson out in lane 7.
Sheena Johnson for UCLA in the blue leads as they come to the top of the stretch. Natasha Neal is right behind.
And Pilusic chopped badly before the 9th hurdle. And now here comes Sheena Johnson and Randy Smith coming up in lane 5. Sheena Johnson's got to hang on. Here comes Pilusic.
3 across. It's Johnson with a little bit more than everybody else. Then Pilusic. And Randy Smith of Washington State was 3rd. It looked as if they almost came to a stop after the final hurdle. Everybody was out of gas.
And that was big for UCLA from the team standpoint. As Dwight mentioned earlier, Sheena Johnson did not have a good qualifying day yesterday. Now she had a victory here, a second in the 100-meter hurdles, and we'll see her again in the 4x400-meter relay, and that was all guts, Dwight.
No question, and Natasha Neal, I expected to make a move there with 50 meters to go, and it didn't quite happen. Randy Smith did a great job for Washington State, but Sheena Johnson getting 10 big points for the Lady Bruins, and they have come back from almost the dead on Saturday and are now in great position.
Sheena Johnson, UCLA, the winner of the women's 400. Now let's check in some results from the men's steeplechase.
The steeplechase was an interesting event. The heavy favorite was Jesse Thomas of Stanford, and he took the early lead yesterday. Thomas is the defending Pac-10 champion, and in fact, the top 5 from the Pac-10s last year returned. But guess who won? Mike Hill from Washington shot Thomas down the stretch. He got the key win for the UW Huskies. Jeremy Rasmussen of Arizona State was 2nd, and Ian Dobson got the points that Stanford needed in 3rd. Thomas was only 5th.
Checking some earlier results, here's that women's 400. Sheena Johnson, Monique Henderson from UCLA. The freshman, Olympic alternate, is in lane 3. Brianna Glenn, the defending NCAA champion and the defending Pac-10 champion as well in this event, is in lane 4. Kansasha Davis, USC, fastest time in the conference, is in 5. Angela Williams, who already won the 100, is in lane 6. Tiffany Greer in 7. and Tiffany Giles from Washington State is in lane 8, but all eyes on Brianna Glenn from Arizona.
Really underrated, I think, as Tom Fuhr has mentioned, defending champion the 200 and the long jump at the NCAA level. She won the 200 here at the Pac-10 last year, and she has her hands full in this race. This is loaded, this field.
A lot of pressure on Brianna Glenn, as we mentioned, won this race last year in the Pac-10 championships. Also went on to win the NCAA title. This year, a little up and down.
Right now, it's kind of hard to tell where I'm at, what my strongest event is, just because this year has had a lot of ups and downs for me in terms of, you know, doing well in one event and not another event and different things like that. But I still feel I'm capable of reaching my goals in all 3 events, and I feel I'm capable of hitting big marks that I might haven't, you know, hit as of yet. So I'm still hopeful because there's time left.
Now, it's all about peaking at the right time. You took a look at the NCAA automatic qualifying is 23:10, and the Pac-10 meet record held by a pretty good athlete, Gail Devers, UCLA, back in '87.
It's amazing, and she was a heptathlete at that time as well. Dawn Sewell, she's had that record for a long, long time at LSU, but Brianna Glenn can do it all. She is a star of the future, but she has her hands full in this race. Not only Angela Williams, who was second to her last year, Kinshasa Davis, who was third at this meet and at the NCAA championships, really sealed the Trojans' victory at the team title at the NCAA meet. So there's an awful lot of good ones, plus the fabulous freshman Monique Henderson, as we are actually looking at Angela Williams, already won the 100 meters, trying to win her 4th NCAA title at 100 meters. She doesn't quite have the strength to go all the way through the 200 in a field like this and win it, but she will be in the top 3.
And Dwight, we have 3 Pac-10 champions in this meet, in this race right now, because we have Tiffany Greer out in lane 7 from Arizona State, who won the long jump over Brianna Glenn.
Now, Brianna Glenn has been running in the shadow of Angela Williams for the past 2 years, even though she was a double NCAA champion last year. This would be a great chance to find her place in the sun here at Washington State. Beat her head-to-head. Glenn was second to Williams in the 100. Brianna Glenn busting out of the blocks.
Monique Henderson got out very well, too, surprisingly, in lane 3.
Kinshasa Davis running even off the corner. Angela Williams in front. Angela Williams of USC. Monique Henderson, UCLA, and here comes Brianna Glenn. Can Williams double? No, it's Brianna Glenn moving in front. Brianna Glenn wins the 200.
And I think Monique Henderson may have pipped Angela Williams for second.
And I've got to tell you, with as much at stake as there is right now between SC and UCLA, I didn't see either Williams or Henderson lean at all for the tape on that, and it's going to be very, very close to separate the 2 of them. Williams looked great through the turn, but that's typical because she's a great 100-meter specialist, gets a great start, and Brianna Glenn, with a little more strength, took a while for her head of steam to build up, but she defends her title successfully and sets herself up for the NCAA. As we see Glenn there, and let's try and see if we can separate Henderson and Witt. It is Henderson appears over Angela Williams, and those 2 points, you never know, as close as those teams are, that could make a huge difference, and Williams didn't even make an attempt to lean at the tape. Brianna Glenn, once again winning that 200, getting herself ready in 2 weeks for the NCAAs. Still a little irritated over that long jump snafu where she dragged her hand a little on her last jump. That might get her some inspiration to get her long jump technique together as well.
It's the first time we've seen her smile in quite a while. She had that controversy in the pit, and she was second in the 100.
Not a bad day, though. A win in 2 seconds.
Able to run down Angela Williams in the last 50 meters to win the women's 2. Brianna Glenn, a special talent, and unfortunately for her, she has to run in a conference in which there's so much other talent, and she doesn't get her due respect. Brianna Glenn wins the women's 200, and looks like Monique Henderson was second and Angela Williams was third. Those are unofficial. We will check it. And it is Monique Henderson second, 23:04. Angela Williams also clocks 23:04, but no lean from the 100-meter champ. And so UCLA gets those points. Brianna Glenn, your winner. Checking some results from the discus.
This is the discus today. This is Scott Moser of UCLA, who's had a bit of a rough meet. Did not perform well in the hammer, finishing 5th, and was also out of the money in the shot put. But he got off a huge throw on his first round attempt, basically put the competition away. And these were critical points, as you saw from the team standings earlier for UCLA. And Moser got out beyond 190 feet to win the event. Scott Moser, of course, has been around for 4 years, served with distinction here. Omer Einen of Stanford, a 198 thrower himself, was second, and then Scott Wiggin of UCLA, who won the shot put, was third. This is Cicely Klinkebeard of Washington State. She's a senior. She was third in the Pac-10 heptathlon, and she has really come into form recently, and she got off a nice jump to take second in this triple jump at the Pac-10. Now, here's the big star. She's the two-time defending Pac-10 triple jump champion, one of the best in the collegiate ranks, Tatiana Obakova. She extends out to 43 feet, 1/2 inch. Obakova, next stop, NCAAs, where she's got a shot at Shelly Ann Gallimore, for the NCAA title. As you can see, Candace Bauschem of UCLA got some really critical and look for points for the Bruins in third there. So Tatiana Obakova, 3-time Pac-10 champion.
Now we move on to the men's 200 meters. And Anthony Buchanan of Washington State would have been in lane 3 in this, but remember he pulled a hamstring at the end of the 100, and so he is a scratch in lane 3. In lane 1, Pete Lopez, Arizona State, won the 200 meters at the Oregon Invitational. Luis Mello is in lane 2. Buchanan is a scratch in lane 3. Michael Lipscomb in lane 4. Anson Henry, who won the 100 earlier today, is in lane 5. Wes Felix of USC, the freshman, in lane 6. Seth Amu, the freshman from Arizona State, is in 7. And Mike Kenyon of Arizona is in lane 8, so still a pretty good field even without Buchanan.
I'll say Anson Henry, having already won that 100, looked very, very smooth. Michael Lipscomb looking great in the qualifying yesterday in the 200. Looked very good in the duel with USC a few weeks ago in both the 100 and the 200. It'd be great for the senior to finally win one here at the Pac-10 level.
And Mike Kenyon, of course, Dwight, won the 400 earlier. He ran very poorly in the heats yesterday, but as we saw, that's not necessarily a prescription for the final.
Good start by Anson Henry in lane 5 of Washington State. He has Lipscomb of UCLA just on his inside.
Lipscomb ran a superior turn. Now it's just a matter of can he keep it going up the finishing straight.
And it is those two. It's Lipscomb from UCLA and Anson Henry, Washington State. Henry, Washington State.
And I got to tell you, Michael Lipscomb, it was the right race plan. He did beat Anson Henry through the turn, and in the old days what they said with Michael Johnson, if you can beat him through the turn, you can beat him. It didn't happen very often. Michael Lipscomb put all of his money on running that turn hard and hoping that Anson Henry was tired from that 100 meters, but Henry showed a lot of poise there, gathered himself with about 50 meters to go, stayed relaxed, and as soon as he went by Michael Lipscomb, Lipscomb just tied up, and it went true to form. But Michael Lipscomb can be very proud of the way he ran that race. You can see him in the middle of the track in the blue. That is Michael Lipscomb. And on his left, that's Anson Henry. They are separating themselves from the rest of this field in the middle of that turn. Now watch when they come off the turn. You will see in the blue, third from the right, Michael Lipscomb will have a slight advantage. Lipscomb then now trying to press his advantage, starts to tighten up a little bit. Look at Anson Henry right next to him. He relaxes and lets the speed come out. And then over about 40 meters, he just slowly but surely eats up the ground. Now Lipscomb is really tight, realizes he can't catch him. Henry, double Pac-10 champion, 100 and 200. Look here, Lipscomb on that right with that empty lane next to him. Lipscomb actually comes off the turn with a slight lead. And then as they come at you, watch the difference in their technique. Lipscomb a little bit side to side there, Henry straight at us. Henry just slowly but surely relaxing, letting the speed come forward. Now Lipscomb, look at his shoulders, look at his neck, his head starting to bobble side to side. That's when you know you got a guy.
Anson Henry showing a lot of strength coming off that corner, and like you said, very quiet with his hands, very efficient. And Anson Henry, a double winner today. He bags the 100, and then he comes back to double up here in the 200 and making a statement for Washington State and doing it on his home track. Final results from the men's 200. Anson Henry, Washington State, Michael Lipscomb, UCLA, and Mike Kenyon for Arizona, able to get up for third. Anson Henry is alongside Tom Fuhr.
Anson, for a conference that's known for its sprinters in terms of UCLA and USC, a double win for you today. Tell me, did you think coming into the meet that you could pull this feat off?
Well, coming into the meet, I was real confident. Practice has been going well. My legs are feeling good. I haven't been injury-free all this year, so I knew that something like this was possible for sure.
Congratulations, and best of luck to you. Thank you. Jimmy?
Anson Henry, one of the best runners in Canada. And now, after winning the Pac-10 championship, he's pretty good south of the border. A double Pac-10 winner, 2002. We'll take a break. Much more to come. You're watching the Pac-10 championships on Fox Sports Net. Ooh.
And Bumi Ogunlie will start for the Lady Bruins on the first leg. On paper, these two teams just a half a second apart in the 4x400, but USC must beat UCLA, which they have not done this year, in order to wrest that title, a title that UCLA has had 5 consecutive years.
And Dwight, I think the key thing may be, in fact, in this first leg, with Ogunlie and Neal, it's very important for UCLA to get that early lead. And, you know, you have Sheena Johnson, who has run the 100 hurdles and the 400 hurdles today, plus the qualifying yesterday. You've got Monique Henderson, who only ran the 200, Adia McKinnon, who only ran the 400. For USC, you have Nakia Johnson, who only ran the 400, Pelusic, who only ran the 400 hurdles. Kinshasa Davis had the 100 and 200, and then Neal, who was the real workhorse, running both those hurdles races.
And as strange as it may sound, because you usually don't talk about it, the baton passes in this race could make a difference with two teams so closely matched. In the 4x100 meter relay, you expect the baton passes to be crucial, but in the 4x4, if they are coming in neck and neck on the second or third exchange, how they make that exchange and how they get out of the hole early can make a big, big difference. And we've seen that happen amongst teams. 5-10 meter leads suddenly open up because of poor baton passing.
A very surprising storyline here with UCLA, because they did not fare well in the prelims. And when they started today, Jeanette Bolden, their head coach, actually putting in a B relay team in the 4x1. And here UCLA is almost backed into the title. Here they are again with a chance to win it. All they have to do is beat USC.
And Natasha Neal has gotten out very, very fast. Ogunlie looks very relaxed. Neal working very, very hard to her outside. And one thing about that, Jimmy, is maybe that 4x100 relay decision was key, because she kept Sheena Johnson out of that and a couple of the key athletes that she needed to get points in other events.
And we've had so many close finishes. Adia McKinnon coming up for a third in the 400, the great 800 1-2 finish for UCLA. Every single 5th, 6th, and 7th place finish has made a difference, and Natasha Neal is really laboring. Bumi Ogunlie looks very, very good, and for Washington State's Tiffany Giles looked very, very good here, but UCLA is definitely going to have the advantage over USC on this first exchange.
A good opening leg by Tiffany Giles of Washington State. Cougars will actually hand off right along.
And not a good pass. Jim, I'm sorry, not a good pass from Neal to Kinshasa Davis. My God, are we seeing history repeat itself here?
Same two as last year. Kinshasa Davis running the second leg for USC, and Adia McKinnon. Those are the two that were involved in that altercation in Berkeley last year, where the baton came out of Davis's hand. Davis now trying to close that gap down the backstretch.
Davis, a veteran, slowly but surely working herself back into contention over that first 200 meters. A couple of years ago, you would have seen her go out really, really fast and try to make it all up at once, but that pass was terrible. She lost 6-7 meters to Adia McKinnon on that pass, and Washington State continues to be a problem for UCLA. Alani Richardson, who was the heptathlon champion, who's been all over the track today, staying right there. Kinshasa Davis for USC fading badly.
And McKinnon is really moving it out now, Dwight. What a well-paced race for someone who had been injured almost the entire year. Brilliant leg by Adia McKinnon. She ran 53 flat off Ogunlie's 54 flat.
McKinnon hands to Sheena Johnson for UCLA. For USC, Pelusic runs the third leg, Alexandra Pelusic. And Tamara Gully for Washington State.
USC really needs to get a great carry from Pelusic to get back in this thing. As I mentioned, they're just a half a second off each other on paper, but UCLA's got easily a 15-meter lead over USC with some good people still left. Monique Henderson, remember, all she ran today was the 200 meters, and she's a 400-meter specialist. Best time in the country this year. So if USC doesn't make a move now, it's all over.
And let's not forget that Henderson really beat Johnson badly at the UCLA-USC meet. And Johnson, of course, running the 400 here, should be a little more tired than Henderson.
Three great athletes on the anchor. Monique Henderson for UCLA takes the baton from Sheena Johnson. Nakia Johnson for USC takes the hand. And Randy Smith for Washington State.
And Sheena Johnson ran 53 flat right off McKinnon's 53 flat. So the Bruins are going to run a very good time here if Henderson can hang on.
USC has run itself back into second place, but I have to tell you, no one's going to catch Monique Henderson. The only thing we have to worry about is her dropping the baton or running inside the curve or falling down. And UCLA is going to back into this 6th consecutive title. Jeanette Bolden very disheartened at the beginning of the day, and as always seems to be the case, the Lady Bruins just making it happen, getting those 5th and 6th places, getting 1, 2 in the 800, getting 1st and 3rd in the 400, and they've run themselves right back into the conference title again.
Jeanette Bolden seems to be a master motivator, Dwight, because I'll tell you what, when the chips are down, these kids always come up, and look at how well Monique Henderson is running. She's actually extending the lead.
Monique Henderson just trying to be very deliberate, not drop the baton. That's the only thing that could happen. She crosses the tape. UCLA beats USC in the 4x400, and that means The Bruins win the women's Pac-10 championship a second year in a row on the final event.
And Jimmy, Henderson anchors in 51.8, and the Bruins have the second fastest time in the country now behind South Carolina.
Monique Henderson, Sheena Johnson, McKinnon, and Ogunlier, UCLA, Pac-10 champions on the women's side for 2002.
She's gone.
Who?
Carol at the bank.
What happened?
Don't know.